Carly, for those of y'all who don't know me, I'm a senior at Highland Park, and I'm the Bell's chaplain, and I've been involved in the church for a while now. I was in high school intern last summer, and I've been on a bunch of mission trips, and I come here every week for WOW and Bible study, and tonight, just like the others, Chelsea asked me to come and preach about my favorite Bible verse and like what it means to me. And so my favorite Bible verse is Jeremiah 29:11, which says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." Now, I know this is a really classic verse that some people use as their memory verse and everything else, but many people take it to heart in a different way. I've learned through my developing faith that lots of people use the different versions of the Bible, so there's different wordings to it, but this is basically how I take it to heart, and I have learned through it throughout my years. So, as a senior, looking back on my years in high school, I've been through a lot of ups and downs. As a freshman, you're a little fish in a big sea of people, and you think everyone's just intimidating and scary, and even the seniors might bark at you on goth day. But you're forced to ask the question, where is God's hope for the future there? And then for me, my sophomore year came, which is the easier year with schoolwork, and I kept trying to find that stable friend group that I wanted to hang out with all the time, so I was forced to ask, where is God's hope for my future here? And then I got to one of those low points in high school. So right after we shut down for quarantine, in the middle of April, my mom passed away from cancer. And this is one of those really low points. So I was forced to ask, where is God's hope for my future here? And now, as a senior, I'm constantly stressed about college applications, football season, bells, Bible studies, which senior dance is next, and so much more. But I have to stop and think, where is God's hope for my future here? So, during the scripture of Jeremiah 29:11, the Israelites are in captivity by the Babylonians, and everything is going wrong. But God is still there and with them. And in our life, God is still here. So, basically, I had to think about this. As a freshman, a little fish in a big sea of people, I just wasn't scared of that. I knew that I had a support system at that time, and I still do, that was an amazing gift and blessing, and I use it to my advantage. So I knew that God had a plan and a hope for my future at that time. And then through sophomore year with the easier schoolwork and everything being easier, and I still didn't have that stable friend group, but I had just made Bells in December of my freshman year, and that gave me one of the best, most loving communities that I could ever ask for. And even though we're often called a cult, we're one of the most loving and gracious cults that I could ever think of. And even with this amazing thing of making Bells, I still struggle with finding my people and just getting that stable friend group that I wanted to have, and that was a dream for any other high schooler. But I knew that God had plans and a hope for my future. And then in the middle of April, my mom passed away from cancer. This was one of those really low points, but God had hope and plans for my future because He sent so many people to circle around me. And even in this time of COVID, where we're quarantined and no one knows what's going on, I was loved by so many people in our community, through Bells, through family friends, through people reaching out from everywhere that we traveled to in my family and just everywhere. And I got right back up, just like I normally do, and made it into my junior year. So, looking back on the verse again, Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." I have always loved this verse because it's straight to the point. It declares that the Lord has plans for us, and these plans were thought of before we were even born or thought in our parents' heads. But He knew exactly how our life would pan out to this day, and He continues to plan it even in our future for next week, the next year, and just even through our entire lives. So now I feel like I have found that place in high school where I've gotten into the groove of things and I know everything that's going on. And when I was a junior, I finally realized I just needed to go back to my old friends from elementary school and even people that I met that year that I just became so close with. And having this stable friend group and trusting in the Lord, I just knew that I had those people that I could go to with my highs and my lows and everything in between. And even though we were partially quarantined during my junior year, we still got that part of football season and just the little things that were coming back. And then we finally got back into the groove of things just in time for a jam-packed summer of an internship, a mission trip, vacation with family and friends, and countless moments spent with my best friend that I'll never forget. And so now, as a senior, even though I'm constantly stressed about my college applications and senior dances and everything in between, I realized that if I hadn't put the countless hours of dancing into making bells, or the countless hours of studying every night to get to where I am with my grades and my college applications, and if I hadn't committed myself to the Lord by going to church and going to WOW and going to Bible study and just getting to where I am in my faith, I would not be able to trust Him like I do today. And so it's obvious that things are going to be hard. The Israelites were enslaved and they were struggling at their time. But I learned that God is still working on the plan and you just have to keep following it. And part of this relies on you following God and leaning into the plan by putting all of yourself into Him in order to trust in the outcome and know that He can give us a hope in the future. God's plans are for good in your life, but you have to follow and put the work into the relationship with God. If I hadn't put the work into my faith, I would have trouble trusting His plan, and I know this. But one of the reasons that this is one of my favorite Bible verses is that I put in the work, and I leaned into His love, and more importantly, His plan, and that has gotten me to where I am today. So, as a senior, looking back, I know that God won't spell out in the clouds where I should go to college or what I should do tomorrow or what's going to happen in a year from now when I'm actually in college. But I know that through trusting His plan, I'll get there and I'll know exactly what to do. So, yeah.